Hey, what's up, Stay Tuners? It's your good friend Jimbo here, letting you know that today's podcast is presented by Podgo. Podgo is the easiest way for you to monetize your podcast, providing podcasters with a flat rate for ad space so you always know how much you get when you include an ad from Podgo. I recently joined as a member and you can too. Apply today and let them know that you heard from Stay Tuned Sports and you start earning today. That's podgo.co at podgo.co.
Heard the rest. Now here's the best Stay Tuned Sports Podcast.
And hello there, all you Stay Tuners. Welcome back to another episode of Stay Tuned Sports. It's your good friend Jimbo here, back again with some interesting stories to talk about today. One I don't think was really nationally brought up like ESPN or whatnot, but and then NFL already talking about adding an extra game for next season. But before we get into the show, head over to staytunedsports.net. You can find all our social media accounts, our Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. I think I have to put our LinkedIn one over there too, but that's on the right hand side there. Make sure you like them, share, subscribe to the YouTube channel. And then up top is our merch tab, which I'll be adding a little bit more within the next week or two as well. So out in California, I believe it was like last week, it was a high school basketball coach was suspended 2 games because he beat his team. I shouldn't say he beat the team because he just coached them 161-2. Yes, that is correct. 161 points to 2. And he was suspended and being evaluated or looked into for basically running up the score. And when I saw this, first off, how shitty is the other team? Or is this team just that good? And I started thinking about this is what's wrong with our nation. So the team that scored 161 points actually won their 4 previous games by at least 70 points, whereas the team they played already lost 1 game by 91 points. So it's not like the team that got 2 points was at least average. It was this team just flat stunk, and I'm sorry if anybody from those teams or the parents are listening to me. I apologize, but why are we suspending this guy for 1, doing his job, and 2, teaching his kids how to win? I mean, that's the whole key of sports, right? Is to win. That is what's wrong with this nation. Here's the participation trophy. Get the hell out of here. If you want an equal game or whatever, you knew this team was good, why would you even schedule these games? Or why not just do what the Little League baseball does and have a mercy rule? Little League, I'm not sure if it's still 10 run rule, or I think it used to be 5 runs by the 7th inning or whatnot. It was something else. But just to show you how good this team was, at halftime, they were leading 120-1. And the coach of the Southern California high school even put his second string players in there in the second quarter. So it wasn't like, he left his starters in there the whole game, and all the other coach could say is, well, they ran a full court press the whole time. He's trying to win the game. If that's the case, then teach your kids how to beat a full court press. I mean, when I was in high school, that's what they taught us. you always change your game plans for different teams. You don't run the same game plan for each team. Each team has a weakness. Each team has a strength. You play to their weakness. But yet now this guy gets penalized for being a good coach. The other quote that I got a chuckle out of from Dale Chung, who was the opposing coach, said, "People shouldn't feel sorry for my team. They should feel sorry for his team, which isn't learning the game the right way." Oh, what, winning? Like, come on, man. You know, like, I feel like doing like the Keyshawn Johnson. Come on, man. And just to top it off, the first game that the high school coach sat out for his suspension, yeah, their team won 80-19 the next game. So, mentioned up at the top of the show here that the NFL is already looking to add the extra week of football for next season. And what that's possibly going to do is give us a Monday night wildcard game. Now, when I first saw this, I was thinking, how would that, what would be the purpose of it? Why would they do it? And why didn't they try it this past season? Like a practice run, see how the ratings went. Well, the reason why they didn't do it this past year is they didn't have the extra game added, which meant the wild card game would have been played up against the college football championship game. Now, with them adding a extra game, which will make it 18 weeks now, the wild card game would play a week after the college football championship game, which makes sense now. Now, there's obviously some logistics to iron out yet, but one of the biggest question marks is going to be, how does the NFL help the teams that are going to have a short week? So if they play on Monday, are they going to play that following Saturday? And the NFL already came out and said that whoever plays on a Monday will play Sunday. So Peter King was breaking it down, and basically it would be 3 games Saturday, 2 games Sunday, 1 game Monday. And ultimately, 5 teams will have a short week. I actually kind of like the idea. Now that I reread it and understand what's going on. But even if the teams have a gripe about short weeks and their ratings are high, it's moot point for the teams, because it's already in the CBA about having the extra game, extra week being put in. And again, who doesn't like a Monday Night Football? Now, the only thing I could see is, kind of hindering it is because it's a Monday night playoff game. A lot of people like to be at the playoff game, and when they're on Saturdays, Sundays, they don't have work, they could go to the game. So I'm not sure when we'll hear when it's official. It'd probably be a lot more closer, probably a few more months yet, but it does sound like we are going to get an extra week of Monday Night Football next year for the wildcard game. Now, as far as week 18, how they're figuring it out is basically whoever you played in 2019, you'll play this last week. So right now, the Philadelphia Eagles are looking at playing the New York Jets, and I believe that was the game that we had like 25 turnovers and the one strip sack for a touchdown. Like, it was just insane when Sam Darnold got his measles or whatever it was. But the one game to watch out for, if this does go through, is it already said Kansas City versus Green Bay. It's going to be the top seed of the AFC West against the top seed of the NFC North. I'll tell you what, that's going to be a good game. As long as Aaron Rodgers is still in Green Bay. I mean, you have to think he's going to be still in Green Bay. It'd be stupid to let him go. But that is going to be a hell of a Sunday night game. I mean, automatically Sunday night or Monday night, but you got to put that on Sunday Night Football. But it's good to hear, some news coming out for next season already, even though my Philadelphia Eagles still suck.
Jumping out of it, Trevor White saying, you know what, I've seen too much now. I almost saw an accident right up there at the front of the field, and that's the one spot you don't want to have an accident, because you and I know, Carlos, if that happens, it's all chaos from there.
Right there, oh, there's a wreck! Turn 1! Multiple drivers involved.
And this is the big one, the 12 involved, the 29, the 23 coming in. Oh boy, bunch of very damaged race cars.
And this is Garage Talk with Joshua Soble, brought to you by 3 Wide TV. Yes, we are back for the third installment, I believe it is, of Garage Talk with Josh. How you doing, buddy?
Doing well. I can't believe it's been 3 already. 3 weeks have gone by so fast.
Yeah, and you know what, like each week, on the weekend, Saturday, whatever, after I get done watching you guys on Friday, I'll listen to the show, and I won't lie, I kind of fast forward just to this part before I start listening to myself. These segments seem like they're a lot of fun. Even the wife says, she finds it interesting too, like especially the question, the mailbag, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, the questions are my favorite part, honestly. Try to get other people involved in it, honestly. And now that we have more and more leagues, Erska coming in and helping out, it's going to be quite nice to see what this week brings. Yeah,
and we actually got some good questions this week. But so before we get to the questions, this past week we were at Auto Club, and I gotta admit, I mean, it was probably the top 3 most exciting races of the season, I would say, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, it was a ton of fun. Like I said, I thought I didn't have Auto Club, so I got on early before the race started and was like, all right, let me buy this real quick so I can go out and test. And I guess I bought it at some point because I don't remember it, but I had it. And man, I will tell you right now, in practice, I'm pretty sure everybody complained about how loose the setup was.
Well, I noticed that a lot with early on in the race. A lot of the cars were spinning out, the back ends were spinning out. But it seemed like as the race went on, you guys kind of honed in a little bit better, and there wasn't as many spin outs coming out of the corners.
Yeah, those tires got worn in pretty well, and it balanced the car quite a bit, which was pretty surprising. It didn't really tighten up much, in my opinion. I know other guys felt that it did tighten up based off their line, but for me, the long run was definitely where it was at, and I could tell while I was like pretty much looking at the broadcast, I could see that my lap times were staying pretty consistent compared to everybody else's. I was faster than most of the guys ahead of me, so I was like, okay, I have a decent shot at this. And then, it's Auto Club at the end of the day. Pit strategy screwed me over, and then I finished, I think, in the top 10, so I will take it.
Yeah, I mean, you were good at, like, I think the lowest you may have gotten was like 15 or so. Excuse me, like towards the not towards all the way at the end of the race, maybe 3/4 of the way through the race, and you just slowly picked one by one down, each time. And I thought for a second there, I thought you were going to sneak up in there, top 5, top 3, but unfortunately, I guess we just ran out of time there.
Yeah, I mean, my plan was just to be a little bit more aggressive. Like now with having the 3 monitors and all that stuff and being able to see like the inside and the outside of me, I can tell how close I am to a driver. So my whole strategy was trying to pinch guys out into the outside in turn 1 and 2 because I knew it was going to get tight. And if they continued that momentum through the corner, they were just going to get into the outside wall on the backstretch. So I try to use turn 1 and 2 as like my pass zone. And I think that's where the majority of my passes came from throughout the night.
Now, for most of the race was led by Andrew Hiddleman and JT Poole, right?
Freeman. It was either Freeman or Gracias. I get the 2 Jasons mixed up.
Yeah.
I know they were up there quite a bit as well too. Himmelman at one point even pulled away with Freeman and or Gracias. Again, I apologize. I don't remember which driver it was. But they got to a point to where they kind of hooked up and were pulling away from the pack early on in the runs. And it was surprising to see Andrew's got a brand new number, and all of a sudden it's like with a brand new number comes a totally different set of skills, and he did really well at Auto Club, and they also run a league on Thursday nights for super speedways, and he ended up winning the super speedway event Thursday.
Cool.
Oh, sorry. No, that's my mistake. Monday, because it's TNR. I'm getting them mixed up. TNR on Monday nights. My bad. He raced there and ended up winning the race with another league.
Now, offhand, do you know if that's his first ever win? Because I know for a while that he was close to coming in and finally just kind of falling back or whatnot. So I mean, he sounded like he was always right there on the footstep, just never could get over that hump.
Yeah, I think for TNR, it might be his first win. It's really hard to follow through with who has the wins over there, because I was racing that league, and then obviously I broadcast on Mondays now, so it's a little bit different, and unfortunately I can't do it. But I want to say that's his first win over in that league. I'm sure he's had a win in NSRA at some point. I could be wrong. But yeah, I mean, he was excited, I'll say that. And the broadcast, I went back and watched it, because a lot of guys were kind of making fun of his burnout, apparently. And I wanted to see what was going on, and he's got a little practice to do, but that's what happens when you get your first win and you're not used to doing burnouts. You just got to get used to it.
Yeah, I'm gonna kind of defend him here and take a shot at you. I mean, when a few weeks back, your first third place finish, your first top 3 finish, you kind of sound nervous there too.
Yeah, absolutely, because I wasn't expecting it, and I was just happy that it was like right after we got done talking about doing top 3s and like, hey, if you at least get a top 3, this and that. And I was surprised that I was actually able to get a top 3, and it was funny. And I wasn't expecting, to get third place, so I wasn't expecting the interview. And man, my mind gets all over the place. It's different when you're on a podcast and you're just like shooting the shit.
Yeah. But
when you're on a broadcast and you're trying to think of shout-outs, and the shout-outs you have to give, but then you're like, dang it, why didn't I say it like this? And you remember all that stuff after it's done.
Yeah, it's like, could I have a redo, please? So one part of this past week's race, I want to ask you, there was definitely 2 times, maybe 3 times, that they actually went 3 wide. Andrew Hittleman, JT Poole, and it was flip-flopping between, I think, Freeman, and I think Lorello maybe, and Peter and Drew were like kind of going nuts over, like, oh my god, they're going 3 wide. Is that like a very uncommon thing to do at this racetrack?
I think it depends, because since there's not dynamic tracks in iRacing, there used to be dynamic tracks where over time you could see the wear on the track, and it would get slick and everything else like that, and you could run multi-grooves on tracks. Okay. So I think with Auto Club, because of how the outside works, I think especially in turns 1 and 2, it might be the same in 3 and 4, but it's just more of like the aggressive style. But at the same time, there are rules for going 3 wide, so I don't know if it's around the time that we can't go 3 wide before the backstretch. Okay. So I don't know if it was like they were on the backstretch and then went 3 wide, and maybe Peter was thinking, oh god, that might be a penalty. I'm not 100% sure, but 3 wide is always dangerous. It doesn't matter where you're at. Okay. Super speedways, you see it all the time, but even then, I don't think in Auto Club you really see it too often.
So when you say it's a rule, do you mean like an actual rule or one of those unwritten rules?
No, it's a rule from NSRA. So on the restart or any start afterwards, you cannot go 3 wide before the backstretch, because if you do, then it's a high chance that's going to cause a big accident. And also on top of that, there's just no need for it, especially if it's early on in the run. Now, Chris will drop that rule from what I've seen in the past near the end of a race, where if there's only like 10 laps to go, you'll hear drivers come over the radio and like, hey, are we good to go 3 wide? He's like, yes, go ahead and carry on. And then that rule does not apply. But in the early goings, where we don't need that much aggressive driving, that's where they really focus on it.
Oh, all right. Yeah, because like I said, I mean, the way they were, it really sounded like their butt cheeks were puckering there when they were going through the turns. And even when they were coming through the turns, I'm like, that's not too wide there, like between the wall and the line down below. I'm like, holy Jesus.
Yeah, it's already rough with that track in general, just going 2 wide and trying to not burn the tires up. So I'm sure 3 wide, especially whoever's on the outside lane, I mean, they're definitely getting screwed the most.
So now with 2 races left, Mitchell Adams ended up winning that one, which in a way, I felt kind of bad for Andrew and JT because they were just so good the whole race, and for it to kind of end like that for them. Mitchell is in first now in the point standings, up by 25 over Bill Edwards and Lorello. Now, is 25 points a big lead now with 2 races to go?
It's going to be, I mean, it was hard to begin with going into Bristol and a little bit harder into Auto Club, but now with 2 races to go, as long as Adams doesn't make a heavy mistake and gets disqualified or isn't able to finish the race, I just don't see how. I mean, maybe Adams is thinking Edwards has a much higher chance than Lorello does, because I know Lorello's 30 points behind him.
Okay.
But he would have to, I mean, these guys would have to have almost a perfect race, and in hopes that they have to A, finish in front of Adams, or Adams has to pretty much crash out.
Oh, okay. So this coming weekend we have ISM at Phoenix. What's your feelings about you with this track coming up, and what do you think is going to happen here?
I'm used to Legacy Phoenix, and that track is already sketchy enough because it's kind of flat out of 3 and 4. You got some banking in the 1 and 2, and it's just oddly shaped, in my opinion, for a track. But I know the racing line at ISM is kind of weird from what I've been seeing. This one is interesting because Auto Club was kind of like everyone's like go-to. They enjoyed it. Okay. And Phoenix is like the opposite of that. You almost hear just about every guy, it's like, Phoenix, ISM, I can't stand it. But then you have some guys who are like, I hate it, but it's at least somewhat enjoyable. So it's going to be weird. I mean, it's going to be like any other week. It's going to be saving tires, making sure you're not, you're saving the right rear. I think Phoenix is going to be one of the testaments when it comes to 3 and 4, because that, from what I remember, it's pretty flat.
Yeah. So do you have any, excluding yourself, obviously, do you have any picks for who do you think might win this race here?
It's tough because I haven't seen these guys race at Phoenix before, but it almost feels like Lorello, in my opinion, either I don't know, in practice, especially at Auto Club, he seemed to not really understand what was going on, but then as the race came to, he started to really pick up speed. Yeah. So I feel like Lorello is going to be surprising in a point that once he figures out the track, and he may already know how to race Phoenix, he could be pretty fast. I mean, besides Adams, again, I don't know how well he does at Phoenix, but knowing that he has a points lead and he's 25 points ahead of Edwards, I think that's going to put a little bit of pressure on him, at least if I was in his position. Okay. So if he can kind of overcome that, he could do really well at Phoenix. And if he does really well at Phoenix, that's going to relieve a lot of pressure, because I know he's not a huge fan of Chicagoland. Okay.
All right. So obviously you guys could tune in Friday night at 9:30 on 3Y TV over on YouTube to watch the guys race. Make sure you guys come over, because I mean there's a bunch of us that actually comment in the comment section while the race is going on, and even sometimes the broadcast crew usually chimes in or gives you a shout out, and even some of the racers that may have a bad race that just parks the car, they jump in there and it's a good time. So make sure you guys check that out. 3Y TV on Friday night, 9:30, the Simbox Truck Series. So before we go, we have our questions. And we actually
we've been waiting for the whole entire time.
Yeah. So the first question is from Mitchell Adams. What races are you looking forward to the most next season?
I was kind of disappointed that with the Daytona Speed Week is pretty much what we call it, because we have 3 Daytona tracks on here, 2 that are pre-race Daytonas, obviously one of those being the dual, and then the oval Daytona. I was kind of sad that I didn't see the road course Daytona on there, because that, as many people hate road courses, for some reason Daytona for me is just like my bread and butter. It's almost like Watkins Glen.
Oh, okay.
Like I just do really well there, but I don't see that on the schedule. So I would say out of this, I mean, this schedule definitely looks like it's going to be tough early on. We got a lot of short tracks. I'm probably going to go with Atlanta, which is the 8th race in, because I like 1.5-mile tracks. That's kind of like my thing. I'm a huge fan of it. Richmond I did really well with this current season. back in like September when the first season started.
Yeah.
So I would say Richmond's pretty much going to be my go-to as well too. So Atlanta and Richmond are kind of the two I'm looking forward to.
All right. And just a quick little plug here, I guess, if you want to call it that, for any podcast businesses that want to sponsor any of our races. We still have a few left. If you just head over to NSRA's Facebook page and message them there, and they'll be able to give you any information or answer any of your questions as far as what's all included and things like that. So make sure you head over to NSRA Facebook page and message them there. So next,
and it's nice to see. It's nice to see that like Brookstone Animal Hospital's back on. They got a new logo, which
dude,
looks
I like that logo. Like when I saw that, I'm like, that's actually pretty nice looking.
It just goes to show you like the league is doing something right if you got the same guys coming back as far as sponsors. So it's nice to see us going into a whole new season with you as the main sponsor now, someone completely new from the outside looking in, and then now we got Brookstone coming back. I mean, next season is going to be huge.
So next question is from Damian Leineger. What's your early impressions on Erska from behind the scenes all the way up to the drivers?
Wow. Erska is high talent. I've always stood behind that in its sense that at Iowa last night when we broadcasted, which you can check over at Belly Up Sports TV's YouTube page, just Belly Up Sports, those guys were at Iowa, and you want to talk about some side-by-side racing, some hard racing. I mean, they went almost 80 full laps before a first caution came out.
Wow.
That's insane for anyone. Iowa is a tough track for Cup cars, Xfinity, whatever you want to name it. The Xfinity series that they race, I mean, it's rough. So it's nice to see that kind of skill gap in there compared to other leagues that I see. Okay. So that's one thing that I knew going into Erska that was going to be amazing. Now, from a production standpoint, because this is something new for me, Johnny Thomas helps me out a ton with overlays. I don't have any graphic designers when it comes to overlays being, brought up. Yeah. And if I have something, boom, he's done and ready to go. So from just everyone kind of welcoming you in kind of arms wide open type experience, everyone is so nice. No matter who you talk to, they love racing with them, with Erska itself and some of the guys around it. So I knew what I was getting myself into, and Erska really, really shows the skill level of a lot of drivers. And,
I could actually agree with you as far as, Erska and Johnny Thomas and them being a great, bunch of guys. I mean, they even hit me up right before the season started, about would I like to sponsor another race, and because, me and Belly Up, we had to kind of go our separate ways in a way, even though we're on good terms, we still talk and things like that. I really didn't think, they would want me to sponsor any of the races, but, Johnny and Erska hit me up, and I was very surprised, and like I said, very, very professional guys and very good to work with as well. But speaking of Johnny Thomas, so he did ask a question on Twitter. Who is your favorite Erska driver? Now, granted, we did answer this question a couple, weeks ago. So why don't you answer his question since he didn't hear it, or maybe he just forgot.
Well, since you don't listen to the podcast, Johnny Thomas, what I would say, which was last week, was obviously because of the fact that we have another Stay Tuned Sports driver, Scott Crump. Even before that, and before I was sponsored with Stay Tuned Sports, I've always followed Crump. I was always a huge fan of his drive style. I was always a huge fan of kind of attitude-ish, but badassness. I don't even know how really to explain it. Yeah. He's just all around. I enjoy Scott a lot. But on top of that, Joshua Adams, I've had my pleasure of working beside him with Belly Up Sports in the past when I first got into broadcasting. So following him and his journey through Erska as well too, is been insane. But last night I saw even more drivers who really I didn't even think about. That just really did well. I knew very little of Ryan Lutz, and Ryan Lutz literally led the whole entire race at Iowa, pretty much, except for 4 or 5 laps.
Wow.
And unfortunately, we had a caution with 3 to go, and everybody behind him pitted.
Oh,
he was
Jesus.
The only one that didn't pit. And at a track like Iowa, tires are key, and we saw it at the end of that race. He got passed by, finished third, and yeah, it was rough. But man, Ryan Lutz is an amazing driver.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I had work early, so I couldn't see, I didn't watch last night's or Monday night's race, but I did watch Daytona a little bit, and yeah, I agree again with you. The talent level just seemed like this year already compared to last year is already a step better than last year.
It's crazy how these guys can race so clean but race hard at the same time.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing that blows my mind the most about Urska is that they give room, and even if they are door-to-door, they're door-to-door. Like, they're bouncing off one another at a point to where, like, they're not wrecking each other. It's weird. It's almost like watching actual NASCAR through a video game. It's interesting.
Yeah. So this next question, I need you to do me a favor. I need you to put your fortune teller hat on. This comes from our buddy Scott Crump. He wants to know, is his luck going to turn around this year?
I hope so.
I mean, you said he didn't do the worst, but he didn't do the best last night, and then the first week he had computer problems, so he's already behind the 8 ball, it seems like.
Luckily, he's behind it at the beginning of the season when there's still a lot of races left to be had. So from his point of view, I would say he's almost kind of like me, where he just gets caught up in a bunch of stuff. Like it's not necessarily his doing. It's just like it just happens.
And that's what happened last season with him too. Like when I signed up, when me and him came to agreement, whatever, about sponsorship. I mean, to a T, what happened to you this year was him last year. And it's like every time I'm like, oh man, you're right there, and then somebody just happens to clip him just enough, and then he goes flying around. But that second half of the season, he just he came on strong.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, there are only 3 races in their series right now, and it ends in August, and we're in March. So I mean, there are tons and tons of time. I mean, we've got Atlanta coming up next for them, Talladega, Homestead, those tracks. I'm sure Crump knows how to get around. It's just trying to stay out of trouble, and hopefully he just doesn't have any more PC problems, because those are the things you can't control.
Yeah.
If you're having that bad of an issue with the computer, at the end of the day, it's technology, and I would rather go through bouts of bad luck than to have computer problems. But
just remember, electronics make everything better in life.
Yeah, I guess. Not if you're Crump.
All right, this next one, you may have to give like a little backstory if you know what it means. So this one's from Gerald Campbell. Will Bud Pug ever catch on?
Butt plug?
No, Bud. Like, well, okay, I gotta make sure I put explicit for this episode.
I swear, I thought that's what you said.
Bud, like Budweiser.
Bud Pug.
Now, I looked at
out of the loop on that.
I looked at his profile picture, and it is a pug in a NASCAR uniforms. The car jackets and everything. So I thought that was interesting. I thought maybe you knew there was a little backstory behind it or something. Either way, you know what? Stay tuned, sports listeners out there. Let's get the hashtag going. Hashtag Bud, not Butt. Bud Pug. if you put Bud Pug, you might get kicked off of Twitter.
Yeah, please don't. We didn't send you to that. So if you do it, then you got bad ears like I do. So.
All right. So this last question is actually from me. I just talked about a story a few minutes ago. A high school basketball coach out in California was suspended, for basically, I mean, you gotta admit this, running up the score, basketball game, 161-2, his team won. He got suspended and is being looked into for running up the score. Do you agree with him being suspended for doing his job, basically?
So, let me make sure I got this right. He's getting suspended because they did well?
Exactly.
That makes no sense.
Exactly.
Isn't that the point of being a coach?
Exactly. and it wasn't even that.
No, I guess. All right. So, what division is this, though?
It was just high school. So, I don't know what division. The story I read, it didn't have the divisions. It just said high school
Okay, so it's high school. So
Yeah. And even the team that had 161 points won the last 4 games by an average of 79 points, margin.
Wait, so his team had 161 points?
Yes. And the other team had 2.
Oh my God.
But my thing is, how can you're teaching these kids to win? Don't take your foot off the gas,
I guess it comes down to, I don't know. What state is this in?
This was California. I think it was like the Los Angeles area.
I guess unless you have like a self-esteem or like motivation, maybe. Like if I was on the team with 2 points, whoever scored the 2 points, congratulations.
Exactly.
You're the MVP, so I'm sure they're on cloud 9. But at the same time, how the heck do you only get 2 points? Their defense must be crazy, or they just don't know how to shoot.
Well, at halftime it was like 120 to 1.
Okay, yeah, they just don't 100. So you're telling me that the 2 points that they got were free throws?
Pretty much, yep.
Oh my God, yeah. What I would say is that's a joke, first of all, because again, you're a coach, you should be winning. Now, complete domination, that's crazy. I'm speechless, I guess.
And my thing is too, like I said before, was if you don't want these type of scores or these type of outcomes, then put a mercy rule in there, like Little League has, the 10-run rule, or even the Little League World Series, I think has like the 10-run rule or something like that, But
yeah, let's throw this back on the school. They should, if they felt that this was going to be a problem, then maybe stop it. All they did was pretty much let this team bleed out.
Yeah. But I thought maybe I was just the only one that didn't think this guy should be suspended for doing his job and teaching his kids, this is how you play the game. That's what you got to do.
Yeah, he's putting out his resume right now. Anyone who's looking, if he's looking to go college bound, or I don't know how it works for high school basketball coaches, but if he's doing this well in high school, who knows what he could do in college? If anything, he's helping himself out, and he's showing like hell they're good.
Yeah. All right. So I think that's going to be it for this week. So like I said, any podcasts or businesses out there looking to sponsor one of our races next season, head over to NSRA Facebook page, send them a message there. They'll be able to tell you what races are still available or awards that you could sponsor. Josh, where could they find you at on Twitter and everywhere?
You can find me at Soble. I think it's just SobleX30 on Twitter, and then that's pretty much all I use really is for business is Twitter. So pretty much it.
All right. So till next week, this is your good friend Jimbo and Josh. We're out.